SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Barcelona, the industry-leading conference bringing you the future of sports betting and iGaming.
SBC Summit Barcelona is the fastest growing sports betting and iGaming event in the industry, happening on the 19th to the 21st of September. Experience the entire global industry coverage under one roof, with 15,000 delegates, over 350 exhibitors, and so much more. Get your tickets now at sbcevents.com.
Throughout this week on iGaming Daily, you've been listening to a few different panel sessions that will be on offer at the event next week. However, in today's episode, we're going to do something slightly different because we have Joe Streeter, the editor of Payment Expert, and he will be running the payments track all day on the Thursday next week at SBC Summit Barcelona. So with that in mind, I thought instead of focusing on one solo panel, it would be a good idea to get Joe's insight on kind of the larger, the grandest side of this event and just focus solely on the payments track. So first off, Joe, welcome to the podcast. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, James. And thanks for giving me the freedom not to choose one specific panel, because the payments track really is it's like a paella. There's so many different ingredients that make it so good and going to make it such a positive experience for everyone involved.
Like a paella. That is brilliant. That is the most descriptive way anyone's ever described a payments track. But cool. We'll dive into it because, like you said, there's loads going on, and you're running the track all day. So could you kind of just give us a general oversight of the payments innovation track at SBC Summit Barcelona?
Yeah, so there's so much going on, and I think central to the track, sort of from where I'm sitting anyway, is it's generally one of the real theme of the track is it's generally about the relationship between payments and the payments operation of an operator and other elements of the business. Gone are the days where operators worked in silos and different sections of the operators worked in silos. For instance, we've got the collaboration for conversion, making marketing and payments panel. I think this really underlines just how much the Barcelona payments track underlines that payments is pivotal to every aspect of an operator's business. There's also a really strong focus on the user experience and why it's so vital. I think in the modern world, as we become more digital, without a strong and efficient payment process and a smooth user experience, other elements of the business that operators are investing heavily in are essentially rendered ineffective because customer conversion, or player conversion, simply is non-existent. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, from my experience, not to use the big C word, but it's definitely after the pandemic, we as an industry and probably as a world have experienced such tremendous growth in the online space that innovation within the payment sector has to happen and it has to keep evolving. And it's started to evolve at such a rate that was kind of unimaginable pre-pandemic. And it, like I said, that period really did amplify payments importance, certainly in the gaming space and the online casino space. There's so many different ways you can now speed up a process to get the player depositing the money and withdrawing as well, just from an online casino's perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't just complement other aspects of the business. It's really essential to other aspects of the business. You can spend as much on marketing as you want. You can provide as many bonuses or, provide as many innovative gaming experiences as possible without a smooth payment experience. Those are simply ineffective and just won't work.
Mm-hmm. And the next question is kind of like, just how crucial do you believe the payment innovation track will be in setting trends for the industry ahead? Because we've had it this week where there's been two perspectives on innovation. Certainly the word itself, I spoke with Craig from Casino Beats, we said that innovation was this word that was being thrown about and it kind of lost its meaning during one time. And then Edward Menway on Monday was saying that it's not the case anymore. Innovation has meaning now. It gets where he understood where the idea came from, but innovation is becoming more important and it's becoming more refined and more of a focus moving forward. So, sorry, just in the payments track, I want a more ramble then. The payments track, how is the kind of innovation track setting the trends for the industry ahead?
No, I think it's a fair point, and we can put innovation, the word innovation, anywhere, but unless we're hitting the nail on the head with some of the key topics, then it's really meaningless. But I think with this payments track, huge credit to the conference team and the team that wrote the agenda. I had a hand in it as well, and they've really have hit the nail on the head, and I think it will be pivotal in terms of setting the trends for innovation, because we've nailed down some of them key subjects. I think an example specifically is we're going to be looking at open banking, and this is going to be a discussion that is had at length at the event. And I know we're talking about the payments track here, and obviously that's where a lot of my focus will be, but also conversations going around on the exhibition floor and going around at the networking events. They will be around these subjects. But yeah, it's going to be looking at open banking in length at the event, not just in the conference room, but across the board. I think next year, my personal perspective, I think open banking adoption is going to grow next year. We're going to see it further evolve into the mainstream and subsequently going to be taken on by the iGaming industry a little bit more. And I think it can be a crucial tool. Obviously, with the economic climate, affordability is going to take center stage, something that will be potentially complemented by open banking. But this affordability being a hot topic is inevitable. And operators and payments firms are going to be looking to tap into the most effective tech to ensure they aren't hit by significant sanctions and they aren't onboarding vulnerable players. These technologies, if they're going to be on display, we've seen some of the companies showcasing at Barcelona. These technologies are going to be on display at Barcelona. We're going to see the trends that really shape the industry for the year ahead. And yeah, I was on a call yesterday talking a little bit about player protection and how optimistic the idea of data sharing between operators is. However, it remains optimistic. It remains, a big challenge, but rarely is there a better opportunity for this type of vital collaboration than at an event like in Barcelona, where you've got so many different stakeholders all coming together from so many different perspectives. And I think the other thing that will take center stage in terms of innovation, apologies, I'm just going off here because there's so many different things going on, but to sort of delve into a different track a little bit, is we obviously have a massive focus on Web3 and crypto again. This tech will certainly take center stage. I think it's always been a big focus for the event. We've got some really good speakers that they're so informative. They help you become experts on this space, and that's really fascinating. And it does feel like we're at a crossroads. We're at an interesting time for the relationship between Web3, crypto, the blockchain, and the gambling industry. That relationship is at something of a crossroads, and it's important that we see this technology displayed in its best form in Barcelona, because this is where it will be embraced by the gambling industry, and this is where we'll see its full use. And I guess the other thing is it's not just the gambling industry that's going to look to tap into this tech in Barcelona, but it's also sports organizations and sports teams that will be there.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of going off to the start of your answer there, I think the running theme of this week is using the phrase nail on the head, hitting the nail on the head. I think we've said it in every podcast this week, and it'll be part of our iGaming Daily buzzword bingo moving forward. But you do, jokes aside, you do raise a really interesting point about Web3, because I actually believe probably for the first time, the gambling sector is kind of level with the advancements of like the next evolution of just the web itself. So we had Web 2, and sometimes you could just say the gambling industry was still kind of playing catch up with the online space. Now we're really planning for this next evolution of Web3 and how to best utilize it once that kind of big leap, that big step is made into this new kind of domain of the internet. And it's a really exciting time to just kind of envisage what could come from this, because it stems from everything. It stems from just like the advancements of the internet itself to the metaverse and X, Y, and Z. And the crypto scene is going to be insanely huge with this, with the likes of like the blockchain capabilities. It's going to be an interesting time.
It's worth saying, you say when it's made there, it's worth saying if it's made. Let's say if it's made, because and that's why I think that this event is so important, because this is essentially a pitch, where they go, we see experts from the Web3 space, and we also see skeptics of the Web3 space, and they come together, and it creates this really interesting dynamic. We see some fascinating audience questions, and I'll be honest, I'm somewhere in the middle there a little bit. How much is Web3 going to take over? How much are we going to see the metaverse become this sort of mainstream thing and this new era for fan engagement and digital currency? It's, it is an if, and we see at events like this that we see the potential, and we see how much it can grow, and we try and get a gauge on where that ceiling is, and we hear from some fascinating people about its potential, and that is really, really an interesting prospect for me.
Yeah, I think my opinion on Web3 is there were people skeptical when the internet was first made. Who's going to use this internet? And now in the modern day, you probably couldn't even think of life before the internet was even made or even invented. Sorry. I think Web3 will have a similar impact. That's how big I envisage it in the next 10 to 20 years. You couldn't even think of a life without the Web3 version compared to the internet that we use today. I think it'll be quite what's the way to use? I think it'd be very game changing and revolutionary in how we use the internet. But just back to your previous answer, because you did mention regulation, and that's kind of an interesting topic to definitely get into, because regulation is the be all and end all. I think it's one of the most important criteria of any sector. But what type of regulatory discussions do you kind of envisage taking place on your track?
Well, yeah, you're very much right, because all the things we mention, whether it be affordability, open banking, or even Web3, they need to be complemented by regulatory frameworks, and the regulatory frameworks need to sort of guide them and allow them a path to prosper. And I really do think this will be one of the key aspects of the conference. And as I said before, not just my track, it's the payments track. It's going to be a hot topic there, and it's going to be a hot topic on the compliance track. It's also going to be a hot topic when you bring stakeholders together, and just discussions that go on around at networking events, around the exhibition floor, in seats at the conference rooms. These are some of the really insightful conversations that are so important. And I do think regulation will be one of these key topics that's very much at the heart of the industry. And especially with it being in Spain this year, I think an interesting development is that Spain, similar to Germany, is eyeing cross-operator deposit limits. And that's something I'm really interested to hear discussed. It's a sort of quite unique regulation, and how feasible is it? That's the question. I think payment firms will be asked on how they could enforce this, or how they could implement this. I also think operators will be taking a look at how they could implement it, because ultimately the buck stops with them. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for sure.
Mm-hmm. And just to round the podcast up, we've spoken a lot about the payments track, but Joe, you've actually got quite a busy week ahead. So at the event, kind of what are you participating in? There's a little hint for you. And kind of what are you looking forward to for Barcelona?
Well, one of the things, I was scanning the agenda again yesterday, and one of the things I'm sort of looking forward to, I'm quite looking forward to a lot, is I love getting to see different cultures and getting to tap into different cultures.
Tap us into different cultures.
There you go. But also, we've got some great panels on Latin American football. Our very own George Harborn is moderating a panel on Latin American football and the passion of Latin American sports fans. And that's really interesting to me. It's a sort of a brief glimpse into the world of just how we think we got passionate fans, just how passionate their fans are, and how that translates to sponsorship and how that translates to sports betting engagement. And as you say, James, the food in Barcelona, to shift away from the conference as well, the food in Barcelona is always tremendous, always top notch. The tapas, I'm sure we'll share a few plates of tapas, you and I, which I'm incredibly excited about. Hopefully over some Champions League football as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig into some patatas bravas. I'll tell you that now. I love it.
I'd be disappointed if not, and maybe we can share some over some Champions League football. It's really cool to have the event when the Champions League is back on, which I'm sure will create a real cool melting pot of different football fans and from different places, and a real football atmosphere as well, which will be a lot of fun. Also, something else on the agenda that I saw was Frank Abagnale. What an interesting character, talking about cybercrime. Give him a Google if you've not heard of him. He's speaking at the event. That is going to be fascinating. What an interesting human. What an extraordinary life he's lived. I'm excited to fire a few questions his way. And yeah, I'm under the radar. I'm a self-confessed TikTok addict as well. I'm a self-confessed TikTok addict, and we've got Luve de Pedrero, who there's a tricky name to pronounce, but if you're on TikTok, you know him from amateur football skills. I'm not quite doing justice just how big he is. He's a monster. I think he's got like over 20 million Instagram followers. He's almost KSI levels. He's huge. So going to be fascinating to talk to him and to hopefully get some followers off of him as well, because I need some traction. My TikTok career is not going great. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And it'll be interesting to see how but on a serious note, it'll be interesting to see how he's venturing into the sports betting world as well, and how, if he plans to use TikTok to engage a new audience with sports betting and iGaming.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. No, just from your kind of description of what you're looking forward to, Barcelona is going to be an insanely busy week. But no, perfect. Joe, thank you for joining us today, and kind of to, round off this podcast to maybe a little bit inspired by Frank Abagnale himself. Catch us if you can. If you're at SBC Summit Barcelona, me and Joe will be more than happy to speak to anyone who wants to talk to us. Joe, thank you for joining us on the podcast, and to our listeners, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Barcelona, being held at the Fira Barcelona Montjuic on the 19th to the 21st of September. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network, or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.